problem is, and people fail to realize this every single time, is the WNBA loses money every single year, year after year, since it was formed. The net income for the WNBA is negative 40 to 50 million. You cannot demand to be paid more if you are not producing the same revenue to back it up. All right, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to the JPD podcast. If you're new here, my name is Jean-Luc Daigle, and in this podcast, I go over everything from sneakers, fashion, pop culture, business, or honestly, whatever else I'm tapped into for the week. It's been a few weeks since I've been able to record, so we have a lot to talk about today, from WNBA All-Star Weekend protests to UFC America 250 updates, and the return of one of, if not the most important Jordan sneaker that ever released. I'm talking about the Undefeated Air Jordan 4s. Now, before we get into everything, I'd like to thank you all for coming for the culture, and I hope you stay for the conversation. Like I mentioned, it's been a busy couple of weeks. If you saw the last episode, I was talking about Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier for Dustin Poirier's last fight before he retired, talking about the Coldplay concert cheating scandal, as well as the Mars Yard 3.0s, and we also were talking a little bit about some crypto news. Some follow-up stuff regarding that. Max Holloway ended up winning against Dustin Poirier, which I was disappointed because I wanted to see Dustin Poirier win his last fight, but Max Holloway did end up winning, and it was, I think, by decision pretty clearly that Holloway won. Dustin Poirier, of course, retired, tossed his gloves on the mat, and gave quite an emotional farewell speech. However, it did come out this week that he was going to return to UFC, not as a fighter, but this time as a commentator. So exciting to see that he is still staying within the UFC and within the MMA community. And he also did mention, which was pretty crazy, that he would come back to fighting if it was for a title shot, which, who knows? Maybe he ends up coming back. Could potentially see him maybe come back for the UFC fight at the White House next year. Who knows? It'd be pretty cool to see that. But for right now, he's going to be coming back as a commentator. The Coldplay concert cheating scandal. If you guys recall, I said that the Astronomer CEO would likely end up resigning after that scandal broke. Sure enough, he did end up officially resigning from the company, and Astronomer has been trying to do damage control and PR, and it's been a PR nightmare, I think, for them. They ended up having Gwyneth Paltrow do an ad for them, which is completely wild because she has no connection to the company at all, but it's been all the rave lately on social media. Everyone was talking about it, how they did this, they tried to do like a complete 180 and they kind of almost played into the fact that something crazy happened with their CEO, which I think it ended up working well for them. But we'll see long term what ends up happening, because obviously Astronomer had probably the biggest amount of publicity ever thanks to this scandal. ISRU camp updates for the Mars Yard 3.0s. If you guys watched the last episode, the ISRU camp is the hub for all the challenges to hopefully gain access to the Mars Yard 3.0s. Currently, we're in week number 3. I'm up to 393 points, which apparently is really good because from what I'm seeing, that put me in the top 10% of contestants when I looked. Oh, geez, me God, guys. When I was looking more in depth on the leaderboards, I'm actually within the 96th percentile, which means I'm in the top 4% of contestants. Supposedly over 27,000 people signed up. So that would mean that I am within a few thousand, several thousand contestants. So pretty excited because stock numbers wise, they haven't confirmed anything, but from the Mars Yard 2.0s, it was around 8 to, I think, 10,000 pairs that were created. So if we're going off that, that means that there's probably about the same amount for the 3.0s. And if I'm within the top several thousand, that means that I stand a pretty good chance at getting a pair, obviously, and hopefully in my size. I am hoping that I hit on them, not just because it's a Mars Yard, but because I want to be able to talk about that some more on the podcast, as well as the experience of going and getting the shoes, if there is something like that. I know previously with the Mars Yard 1.0s and the 2.0s, they had a space camp that you had to participate in and complete in order to obtain the shoes. So excited to see if there's anything like that when you go to actually acquire the Mars Yard 3.0s. So fingers crossed that I hit. In regards to pickups, there have been a few pickups. If you guys watch the previous episodes, as well as videos on my main channel, I've been talking about the Kobe 6 Total Orange like crazy. I ended up hitting on them, and I finally have them in hand. So very excited to be able to show you guys these. So here we have them, the Total Orange Kobe 6s. Total Orange is definitely an understatement for this shoe because these are just plastered, obviously, in this very bright neon orange. It's actually a gradient. It goes from like a bright green, or I'm sorry, bright orange to a dark orange. Got the silver metallic Nike swoosh on the side, as well as the silver metallic Kobe logo on the tongue. I have mentioned it multiple times already. This is essentially an all orange version of a Grinch and reverse Grinch Kobe 6. And honestly, this colorway hits tremendously. It is, I mean, this is a hooper shoe for sure. This is if you really want to stand out on the court. And unfortunately, I do not have the basketball skills enough to be able to wear these on the court. So if anything, I will be wearing these casually. I ended up getting these in a size 11, which I ended up getting the Kobe 6 All-Star 2.0s in a size 11 as well. They ended up fitting very snug, and these also do fit very snug. And that's majority due to the massive insoles that they have on the newer Kobe 6s. And I don't know why they ended up going with these thicker insoles. I know Wear Testers talks about it quite a bit, that the Kobe 6 insoles just, they make no sense compared to the original ones. So what a lot of people have been doing is throwing in insoles from other shoes, either whether it's other Kobe models or other Nike models or just replacement insoles in general. And that seems to be doing the trick, which is what I'm probably going to end up doing because I've talked about it before on the podcast as well as my main channel. I have size 10.5 feet, but I'm also flat footed. So when my foot is in a shoe that's thin and has an arch, it is just extremely uncomfortable, specifically around the forefoot here, around the pinky toe. So very much hoping to figure out a way that I can wear these because I do not want to get rid of these shoes. These are definitely a pair worth keeping. If you guys can get yourself a pair of these for a good price, I believe resale is around the low to mid twos. It may have gone up since I've last checked, so I'll definitely be able to throw that up for you guys to see what the market's looking like. But yeah, if you can get these for a good price, they are definitely worth it, both from a casual shoe to wear as well as a hoop shoe. Other pickups. I have been in the search for, I should say, I've been on the hunt in search of a pair of casual, cozy vibe kind of shoes, I guess. Specifically, I've been looking for a pair of the Crocs Pollux clogs. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with the Crocs Pollux clogs, it is the official collaboration between Salehi Bembury and Crocs. Now, he essentially took the design of a regular Croc and made it he designed it off of his thumbprint, and it just created a more like trail focused Croc, which sounds really weird until you see them in person. It's a very cool looking shoe, and I mean it's hideous. I should say it is a hideous looking shoe, but in a weird good way where it's so ugly that it's cool, if that makes sense. And I've been wanting a pair of them for a while. Unfortunately, I was unable to get any of the past releases that they've dropped. I was looking at for a while. I was looking at the Niagaras. I was looking at the Manta colorway. I was looking at the they had like a yoke colorway, which is like a bright yellow. But I wanted something that was wearable, and I've been hunting for them for a while. And miraculously, I ended up not hitting. I'm sorry. I ended up finding through APB store, which if you guys are unfamiliar with APB is part of the Whitaker Group. So Whitaker Group owns Social Status, they own APB, and they own Amamanier. So I somehow found through the Whitaker Group APB store specifically a pair of the Manta Crocs Pollux clogs. Now, they were on sale, which was very exciting. They retailed, I think, for $80, $85. I ended up getting them for $60, $65 with shipping and taxes. Ended up being about like $80 or so. So very excited. I was able to get them under retail, and I didn't have to worry about paying any resale prices and worrying about whether or not the shoe was real or not. So here we have them. Let me pull these out of the box for you guys. I don't know why I've been having trouble getting this box open. For some reason, the corner of this keeps getting caught, but I'm a little concerned that it's gonna end up damaging the box. At some point, I'm gonna like try to open it quickly, and it's gonna tear the box open, and then I'm gonna be like, oh, there goes the box. But anyway, here they are, the Manta Crocs Pollux clogs. It's interesting on camera. These look almost like a more bluish green kind of color, but in hand they are more of a greenish gray. But real quick, so you guys can see, it looks like a thumbprint, obviously a fingerprint, Salehi Bembury's to be specific, on the bottom. They are, like I mentioned, they are ugly, but ugly in like a cool way. And I don't know how to explain that. If you're somebody that has that same kind of feeling with shoes, you'll get what I'm saying. But it is a wild shoe. I ended up getting these, fortunately, in a size 11, which I was told that this specific colorway of the Pollux clogs fit a bit snug compared to previous models, because people, like, essentially would like size down. So like if you were normally like a size 10, people were getting size 8 or 9, and because Crocs generally do fit a bit larger. However, this colorway, like I said, people were saying that these fit snug, so I ended up going with a size 11, which ended up being, I think, the last size that they had available on the site. And these fit pretty much perfect, more, I think, standard than previous models, which is kind of strange, but they almost fit very similar to my Nike React X Rejuvenates. So for like a size reference or feel, I'd say that pretty comparable to that. But yeah, ended up getting these, and I'm very excited to wear them this summer because it is still summer. And I actually am going to Florida in October with my girlfriend for her birthday. So probably going to end up wearing these down there as like a casual everyday kind of shoe. And definitely will be wearing these throughout the fall as a very cozy vibe type of shoe. So you'll definitely catch me in some IG pictures as well as some upcoming YouTube videos on the main channel. But that's going to do it for pickups. I do have a very special shoe that is coming up in the mail, and I will talk about those I'll talk about those with the later main stories that we're going to be talking about. But anyway, so moving on to some of the main topics. Let's talk about the UFC America 250. So it would appear that if you guys saw the previous episode, specifically the one titled Red, White, and Bruised, I talked about America 250 and how there's going to be a UFC fight there, and how Jon Jones ended up coming back into the testing pool because he wants to fight on the White card, the White House card. According to Dana White, I'll pull this up for you guys now. He said in a recent interview that he is not what's the way to explain it? He's too concerned with Jon Jones's unreliability, and he's not sure about throwing him on the card, as you guys can see within this article, because he obviously wants a fighter that is going to, stick in it and not get himself into trouble, whether it's with, legal issues or issues with the police, or if it's issues regarding taking PEDs and getting busted for drugs. So there's a lot, obviously, of moving parts on the back end, and according to Dana White, he is not confident in Jon's ability to be reliable for this fight. So unsure if it's going to end up happening, if he's going to end up fighting Tommy Aspinall, but Ciryl Gane and Tommy Aspinall will be fighting soon, which is exciting. And so we may not end up even seeing Tommy Aspinall in the UFC card for the White House next year. So very, very interesting to see what's going to end up happening from now until July 4th of next year, because there's obviously a lot that's going to be happening within the fighting world. So we'll see what happens there, but you guys know that I will keep you guys posted. Real quick, guys, I do apologize for interrupting, but I just wanted to ask that if you are watching or listening on YouTube and you're enjoying the episode, do me a huge favor and like the episode, as well as subscribe to the channel. If you guys want to stay up to date on all my episodes, you're going to have to hit that notification bell. If you guys are watching or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, you could do me another huge favor to follow the podcast, as well as give it a rating, as it helps push the algorithm on those platforms. With that being said, guys, let's get back to the episode. Moving into our second main topic, we have the WNBA All-Star Weekend protests. I'm going to pull it up for you guys now so you guys can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. But during All-Star Weekend, specifically the All-Star Game warm-up, the All-Star players ended up wearing Pay Us What You Owe Us t-shirts. This is in response to WNBA players wanting to be paid more than what they're currently paid at. It has always been something that they've talked about. However, it has become even more popular to push for since players like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese have entered the league, and the WNBA has obviously become much more popular. The problem is, and people fail to realize this every single time, is the WNBA loses money every single year, year after year, since it was formed. The NBA subsidizes the WNBA to allow women to play professional basketball. To put this into perspective, the WNBA generates roughly $1 billion in revenue, or at least is projected to reach over $1 billion in revenue this year. The NBA generates $10+ billion in revenue each year. The difference is the net income of the NBA is over $2 billion, whereas the net income for the WNBA is negative 40 to 50 million projected this year. There are 144 slots on the WNBA, or rather in the WNBA. To put this into perspective even more, 144 slots and negative 40 to 50 million puts it at negative 270,000 to negative 340,000 per year that the players technically owe the league with the logic that they're using of pay us what you owe us. They would actually end up needing to pay the league to be able to play professional basketball with that logic. It makes no sense. The protest makes zero sense. If you aren't making the money, you won't get paid. You cannot demand to be paid more if you are not producing the same revenue to back it up, like the NBA. I get that the WNBA is becoming more popular. It's great that it's finally becoming popular, but the WNBA is already subsidized. It's already losing money every single year, and they want to be paid more. It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't, and I don't see them getting paid more. They maybe they will get paid a little bit more, but they're not going to be able to achieve contracts like they're getting in the NBA because they are not producing the same amount of revenue. It may never end up happening to that extent. It will take a significant amount of time for something like that to be able to happen. But anyway, moving on to the main topic that I'm extremely excited to be able to talk about, we have the return of the Undefeated Air Jordan 4. If you are unfamiliar with Undefeated and the Jordan 4, the Undefeated was founded back in 2002 by James Bond and Eddie Cruz out in LA. The Undefeated Air Jordan 4 was an official collaboration between Nike and Jordan Brand and Undefeated, which released 20 years ago back in 2005. As the story goes, and I'll pull this up for you guys on this GQ article that I've been reading so that I have information for you guys. Back in 2005, Mark Parker, then Nike's co-president, Tinker Hatfield, the GOAT designer behind virtually every major Jordan that ever released, as well as models like the Air Max 1 and other legacy Nike models, the Nike Air Mag, and so forth, as well as Lance Armstrong. They end up strolling into Undefeated at their original LA store and supposedly instantly hit it off. Tinker Hatfield ends up asking the team at Undefeated what they would do as a colorway for a sneaker. And Eddie Cruz, like I mentioned, co-founder of Undefeated, was wearing a pair of Jordan 4s. And so he suggests, hey, let's do a Jordan 4 collab. Rather, not a collab, but he suggested he would probably do a Jordan 4. And he thought it'd be cool to do one based off the BlackBerry, because at the time, BlackBerries were very popular. It was the phone to have at that time. And so calls ended up getting made. Boom, samples get created, and they have this original colorway, which is based off of like blue and red and the colors of the BlackBerry at the time, or rather relating to BlackBerry at the time. However, Paul Middleman, who was the former Stussy designer and close Undefeated associate, ends up observing, what's happening, and he ends up saying, if you guys are really going to do something, meaning if you guys are really going to do a collab with Nike, it should be based on the ethos of Undefeated. And from that point forward, James Bond and Eddie Cruz end up ditching the BlackBerry colorway and go for the bomber jacket inspired colorway that we all know as the Undefeated Air Jordan 4. Quick little fun fact, the original M&M 4s, the black, blue, and red pair that go for tens of thousands of dollars, supposedly the M&M 4 and the Undefeated 4 are very connected, in that the M&M 4 was actually taken from the samples that they were creating of the BlackBerry Undefeated Air Jordan 4. And so there's always been a close connection with those, and it's never been like official confirmation on that. However, in recent interviews, it's kind of been hinted at that seems to be the case, that the M&M 4 is just a sample of the Undefeated 4. But I digress. The original Undefeated 4 ended up having 72 pairs released. From what I've read and what I understand, the original 72 was a nod to the Bulls' 72 wins. Now, I don't know if that's official, if that's actually the reason why, but regardless, 72 pairs end up getting made, majority of which were exclusively gifted to employees at Undefeated, and a few others were raffled off in store in Los Angeles or online auction to benefit a few local intramural sports teams that the brand was connected with and sponsored. We end up flashing forward roughly 10 years. Undefeated ends up blowing up in success and popularity. They end up having locations all across the world, specifically across the US, regarding like New York and Chicago, but then China, Japan, and a bunch of other different places. And this legend of the Air Jordan 4 Undefeated ends up growing. And in, I believe the mid 2010s, they end up retroing the shoe alongside the Eminem 4s for rappers like Drake, because as I understand it, and from what I've seen Kenny G, aka the Perfect Pair, talk about, they ended up making the Undefeated 4s because Drake couldn't get an original pair of the Undefeated 4s. And so they end up making this very, very, very limited run of the shoes that end up only dropping, I think, if anything, potentially by auction, but I pretty much seemed that they were only friends and family, they were only friends and family pairs. But flashing forward another 10 years, and Nike and Jordan Brand and Undefeated have chosen to finally retro officially the coveted shoe to the masses as a 20th anniversary, as well, 20th anniversary of the shoe, as well as the 40th anniversary of Jordan Brand, because 2025 is 40 years since the original Air Jordan brand was founded in 1985. To put this into perspective of how rare and in demand the Air Jordan 4 is, a size 10 of this shoe sold at Sotheby's recently in December of 2024 for roughly $50,000. This shoe, for many people, was and is considered the holy grail of sneakers. And it's a shoe that we never thought would ever be retroed officially and ever actually released to the public. But James Bond and Chris Gibbs have said that this new pair is as close to the original as possible without tarnishing the original pairs. This new pair, and I'll pull this up for you guys, features some updates such as Nike Air on the back, Undefeated branding on the insole, and some slight color variations from the original, because according to Chris Gibbs, who, if you guys are unfamiliar with who Chris Gibbs is, he is part of Union LA. He's the founder for Union LA, and he stated in a recent interview with Complex that they couldn't do a perfect one-to-one, as the creation of the original Undefeated Air Jordan 4s was very specific to that time. And so obviously materials have been updated. Production for Jordans has changed. And so they could not, or rather they cannot do just a perfect one-to-one recreation. But they did say that Nike Air on the back was something that they did really want to do for the shoe. And that was something that they did because when they originally made the Undefeated Jordan 4s, you weren't allowed to use Nike Air, touch any of that on the back of the shoe. It had to be Jumpman at the time. And so now, given that they have the opportunity to put Nike Air on the shoe, they are going for it. And obviously they did go with that. OG sneakerheads are hating on this and freaking out that they're touching such a coveted pair. But honestly, I say screw that. This shoe is for the people and the sneakerheads that really want a piece of sneaker history. And so I think it is amazing that they're finally releasing these to the masses, because I know growing up seeing this shoe, it was something where I don't think I ever actually saw the shoe in person. I think I've only saw it from Mayer's collection on YouTube, Kenny G, The Perfect Pair, and a few other Hess Kicks I know has had pairs, and a few other major collectors. And for them to finally be able to drop this shoe for the new age sneakerheads and for the collectors that really want a piece of history, it's a perfect opportunity for them. There's only, like I said, there was only 72 pairs that originally dropped from the original pair, or rather, there was only 72 that were produced. And from what it seems like, the sales figures for this, there are over 6 figures and of the new pair that's dropping. And we don't even know, we don't know official numbers. It's been said 6 figures. It could be 100,000, it could be 200,000, who knows? But they've already dropped a week and a half ago in person in Chicago via Undefeated. They also dropped last week online and in store at raffles at Undefeated. There was the in-store raffle at LA, their LA store, their Chicago store, their New York store. I was super fortunate. Like I said, there was one more pickup that I got. I was super fortunate to have hit on the online raffle alongside my friends and family who I sent the link to enter to. So I'm super excited. Got them in my size. They ended up retailing, it was $250 after taxes and shipping. It was like $260 or $265, and then there was the EQL raffle fee, which was about $6. So all in all, I ended up paying like $270-ish for the shoe. So super hyped that I ended up hitting them for retail, but apparently they might not be shipping until the end of August. From the confirmation email, it said that they're doing their best to get stuff out as soon as possible, but you could see all shipments, you should see all shipments be sent out prior to August 29th. They also did drop online, first come, first serve, on the Undefeated website alongside a cool clothing capsule, which featured a Undefeated Jordan brand bomber jacket, a Undefeated A-frame hat, some sweaters and t-shirts. So pretty cool there. But the website was absolutely cooked. I was trying to enter on my girlfriend's phone and my phone at the same time because I was really hoping to do a double and triple up. But unfortunately, that did not happen because I entered in, and even with the supposed 6-figure stock numbers, the shoe sold out within a couple minutes. But there is a sneakers drop that has been confirmed. There's no official date yet, though. Resale prices right now are at an all-time high. I saw them drop under $500 before the release last week. They spiked up, or rather over the weekend, they spiked up to high 5s, low 6s. And right now it's the worst time to pay resale. So if you're anybody that's looking to get a pair of these and you're feeling like you're going to miss out, wait until the sneakers drop happens. Once that happens, prices will settle. Pairs will be, in hand, and people will not be selling them for the price, the current resale prices. It's inevitable. It's been happening with every single shoe. The hype is obviously at peak on or before the official release of the shoe, and it ends up dropping off. Like the Shattered Backboards as an example. Shattered Backboard ones drop end of this month, and they're already going for retail, if not under retail, because they've been dropping them overseas. So, cool the brakes, take a deep breath. You will be able to get these for retail. If not, pay a little bit of resale. And supposedly this shoe may never release again, according to Chris Gibbs and James Bond. So resale prices will inevitably go up, but just wait, because prices obviously are expected to go down. Anyway, when this shoe ends up coming in, you guys know I'm going to show it for you guys on the podcast, as well as do a bit of an in-depth review on my main channel. Hopefully, I'll definitely be posting this all over Instagram. And honestly, I'm considering using the pair as a giveaway for the raffle at the upcoming For the Culture event at the end of September. So that's not official yet. We haven't decided yet if that's officially going to be the raffle shoe, but we want to do something really big for this show, so we may see that as the shoe. So stay tuned for that, because you guys know I'll definitely be talking about it here on the podcast, as well as getting it posted on the official For the Culture social media pages. But like I said, guys, I love the fact that Nike is bringing these back. I think they should honestly go deeper into the vault. They've already brought the Wu-Tang Dunks back, which is awesome to see. They just brought back the Undefeated 4s. I just told you guys a few minutes ago that the M&M 4s are very much connected to the Undefeated 4s. So I would love to see them drop the M&M 4s too. Just give the people what they want, Nike. Like, it is the best thing that you could possibly do right now. Sure, resale prices are low, but pairs are still moving. And who cares if resale prices are down? Sneaker collecting is at an all-time high. The colorways that are dropping of stuff are amazing. Like I said, guys, back in the first episode, we're at that point where we're at like the mid 2010s again. Like we're getting some of the best sneaker releases that are going to start this crazy wave of a bunch of other sneakers down the road, and I'm here for it. So I'm very excited to see what Nike is going to be coming out with, because this year, I mean, specifically August, is just crazy bangers between Kobe's, between the Undefeateds, between the Shatter backboards. We also just had the Brick by Brick Jordan 4s, and it's just a crazy amount of pairs that are dropping. So yeah, 2025, insane year. Cannot wait to see what's going to be coming out next year, the year after that, and so forth. But guys, I know I'm interrupting again, but I just wanted to interrupt that rant real quick to let you all know that For the Culture is officially returning on September 20th. I know I've mentioned it already in the podcast, but if you guys are interested in buying, selling, and trading your sneakers, clothing, collectibles, and whatever else you have with 100 plus vendors and 500 plus people, be sure to stop by For the Culture at InSports Centers in Trumbull, Connecticut on Saturday, September 20th from 12 to 5 p.m. If you guys want to purchase early tickets and tables, you can go to fortheculturect.com/September 20th. That's fortheculturect.com/September 20th for more information. Thanks, guys. I hope to see you there. I figured we should end it on a high note there, because I really don't have anything else to talk about, given that the Jordan 4 Undefeated was the biggest thing to happen within sneaker and pop culture the past week. So that's going to do it for today's episode. I appreciate you all for tapping in as per usual. Let me know what your thoughts are on today's topics in the comment section below, particularly with the WNBA protests, as well as the Undefeated Jordan 4 release. You could hit me up on IG at the JPD podcast, as well as my personal Instagram at Jean-Luc Paul Daigle. If you guys enjoyed this episode and you're watching or listening on YouTube, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. You guys already know that if you want to stay up to date on all my episodes, you have to hit that notification bell. If you guys are following on Spotify or Apple Podcast, be sure to rate the podcast, as it just helps push the Spotify and Apple Podcast algorithm. You guys already know that we're going to have a lot more to discuss in the next episode, because there is more sneaker releases, more pop culture news, more everything that's always constantly happening. Be sure to check out videos on my other channel at Jean-Luc Paul Daigle. I have a few new videos that I'm kind of putting together. We got some sneakerhead essentials, cheaper alternatives to expensive clothing, and a whole lot of other things that I've been brainstorming and putting together in the pipeline. So be sure to subscribe to the main channel so that you don't miss out. Also, I will be at SneakerCon New York this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, August 9th and 10th. So if you guys are fans of the podcast, be sure to stop me and say what's up. Would love to see some of you guys and see who the supporters are. With that being said, guys, this was the JPD podcast. Thank you for coming for the culture, and I'll catch you guys in the next conversation.
It's time to honor MLK and Malik Shabazz. Paradox teaches class while we speak to reach the mass. Yeah, shame on those who think we need to delete the past. We need to educate so our kids forge a better path. If the future is a glass, mine is half full. I had to leave the internet because I can't stand bull. And there's no need for profanity when conversing candidly. Facts are just that. Follow the cure for insanity.